talk a little Michigan and Oregon, a huge win for the Oregon Ducks, 38-17. What's your takeaway from this one?
Hoosiers spotted Michigan State 10 before they started routing them. But Oregon showing why they're the number one team in the country today against a Michigan team that was energized to play. It's a hard-hitting game, but the Ducks made big play after big play, get another win, improve to 8-0. Anytime you win on the road, especially at a place like the Big House, it's huge for your program. And Oregon, with all the prospects that they're in on right now down the stretch, to come out here to handle business, to continue to show these blue chippers, these 5 stars like Jakeem Stewart that are still out there, or Naeem Offord, who's committed to Ohio State, that we are indeed the best team in the country. The Ducks did that again on Saturday behind the arm of Dylan Gabriel and his talented wideouts.
Yeah, a convincing win. And, let's back up. Let's go back to Friday, Steve. I know you predicted this, so none of this is a shocker to you. But in the college football recruiting world, Shamari Earls flipping from Georgia to Michigan. Also, Benny Patterson from Cincinnati to Michigan. What was going on Friday?
Well, Michigan's coaching staff has done a really great job of building meaningful relationships with their top prospects, and they have a lot to point to, obviously, with this program. They're the defending national champs. The NFL draft has been good to them year in and year out. Their culture within their football facility is up there with the likes of Clemson and such in college football, So when prospects get on campus, they feel that family aura around the program. I think it might be the largest alumni group in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan has a lot going for it on the trail. And Shamari Earls was a guy that they never backed off of, committed to Georgia. But the connection, the family feel he gets around Sharon Moore, Lamar Morgan, the way those guys make him feel comfortable. Again, the way they've developed defensive backs, what they've done with Will Johnson, an opportunity to play early. There's going to be opportunities in every position room to play early and help get Michigan going again. Andrew Babalola, the 5-star offensive tackle, said as much when he committed to Michigan less than 2 weeks ago. These guys are hungry to get into Ann Arbor, get into Schembechler Hall, and get Michigan back on track. The Wolverines are 5-4 right now. It's been a tough schedule. But a tough loss today to Oregon. But I think that they're trending for some more wins on the recruiting trail moving forward.
Yeah, luckily recruiting doesn't always follow the same path as maybe the football team's record. So you see here, Michigan's top commitments, they have a really solid base right now of really a talented group. But with what they had on campus this weekend, let's talk about some of these flip targets, potential flip targets. I thought one of the most interesting names that showed up on game day was wide receiver Derrick Meadows, because he's committed to LSU. We know that Michigan, Notre Dame, among others, were heavily involved in his recruitment before he committed to LSU. Were you surprised to see Derrick Meadows at Michigan this weekend?
No, because behind the scenes, there's been a lot of buzz about Derrick Meadows and Michigan trying to add him amongst some other elite players for this stretch run as they make a run at what could maybe ultimately be a top 5 class. They sit at number 10 right now in the On3 recruit rankings after flipping Shamari Earls on Friday night. But Derrick Meadows is someone that they haven't relented on. He's been to campus several times. Ron Bellamy's been leading that recruitment, but he has relationships with Michigan commits and targets and people in the state. So Michigan's in the middle of that one. He's going to visit Notre Dame next week. Still a lot of confidence around the Irish for Derrick Meadows as well.
All right. Well, how could we possibly talk Michigan recruiting and not mention Bryce Underwood? So he wasn't expected to be in town. I'm assuming he was not in town because I'm sure X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it would have been going absolutely bonkers if Bryce Underwood showed up. But Steve, am I crazy for maybe connecting the dots with Derrick Meadows and Bryce Underwood? Is there any ties there?
Yeah, it'd be the 3rd most watched thing on Twitter if Bryce Underwood would have showed up at Michigan today behind Jason Kelsey, excuse me, and then James Franklin. So I think there was some hope that he would visit this weekend. Michigan, they've obviously been pushing for him since he committed to LSU in January, but I think those talks have intensified over the last month or so. There's some hope around the Michigan program that they can make a move with Bryce Underwood late here. But on the Baton Rouge side, on the LSU side, I think that there's full confidence that he's solid in his pledge. He's going to be back at LSU for the Alabama game for his official visit this next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still in regular communication with the commits that are in that talented LSU class that ranks number 3 nationally, loves the offense, the tradition. He always saw himself at LSU even before his process started, but certainly Michigan and those talks have intensified over the last month, and there's some confidence around the program that there's people that feel that they can get it done.
All right. Speaking of intensifying, what about the recruitment of linebacker Nathaniel Owusu Boateng? He's been out to Michigan a couple times. He was there today. What's the latest you're hearing on Boateng and his recruitment to Michigan?
Well, I think they have always been at or near the top of his list. He loves the way that they develop linebackers, the style of play on defense, and thinks he could come in and play right away for the Maize and Blue. This is his second game visit. Every time he visits, he says they continue to impress him and his family. His official visit in the summer, he called it the best of all the officials he took. And he's going to be at Notre Dame next week for the Florida State game. He's got Colorado in the picture. His brother Jeremiah Owusu obviously won the Buckus Award at Notre Dame. There's a lot of family ties to that South Bend program, but I could see him wearing a winged helmet on the next level. That's for sure.
Yeah. And, these are some of these games where even though Michigan didn't win, it feels like, Steve, am I crazy? But it feels like Michigan had a really good recruiting weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, they had some great players on campus this weekend and some guys that I could ultimately see in the fold for them. Receiver Jamar Browder, currently committed to NC State, was making his second visit to campus. He told me a few weeks ago Michigan was his leader despite his commitment to NC State. Christian Ingram is a tradesy defensive lineman from the Peach State that's on Michigan's campus this weekend. We'll see what kind of move that they can make for him. The most intriguing prospect on campus this weekend to me is Grayson Littlejohn, a top 100 recruit, decommitted from Clemson on Friday. He is at Michigan today for a game visit. You cannot take visits if you are committed to Clemson. They bounce you from the class. So he decommitted himself. He's at Michigan. I think the momentum is with the Wolverines right now. I think they're the one to beat for Grayson Littlejohn. They are going to lose a lot in this secondary following the season. And they have one of the best secondary classes in the country right now. But to add a Littlejohn to Shamari Earls and Ivan Taylor and guys of that talent level to come in and replace a Will Johnson and a Makari Page and guys like that would be huge. There's an early opportunity for all these guys to come in and make an impact.
So, Steve, let's wrap this segment up. On the flip side of this game, what does it mean for Oregon right now? They're undefeated. They're rolling on the recruiting trail. We know they got some heavy flip targets out there that we talk about every week on this channel. So what's next for Oregon recruiting after this win?
Well, they're in the middle of it for some really elite prospects in this class as they try and finish with a second straight top 5 recruiting class. And Jakeem Stewart is a prospect that they're battling Ohio State, USC, and LSU for. He's going to be at LSU next weekend for his official visit, but there's no question momentum around Oregon and Jakeem Stewart. I think that Oregon and Ohio State are in the best position right now for Jakeem Stewart. And he was at Ohio State last weekend. He's going to go to Oregon on November 23rd and then get back to Ohio State the weekend of the 30th and then make his commitment that first Wednesday in December. So that recruitment's a war. He wants to play in big games. He wants to play on the biggest stage. And Oregon is showing that they are a program that's going to be there for years to come. Again, to go into the big house and get a win like that on the road against a Michigan team that saw it as an opportunity to really turn their season around. They were geared up for it, but Oregon had all the answers and then some. Jaron Key Sagapolitelli is an on-300 quarterback that's a major senior riser, threw well at the Elite 11 finals in the summer. He visited Oregon last weekend. I like the way that's starting to trend for the Ducks. as they battle Georgia.
Yeah.
He's currently committed to Cal, all three programs still in the mix. Vander Plug's an on 300 tight end that took 2 straight visits to Oregon, Josh. Oregon is trending on the on 3 RPM, but he's back at Washington this weekend. So Oregon getting a win while Washington hosts USC tonight. So we'll see what happens there. But Naeem offers a 5-star corner committed to Ohio State that Oregon's still alive for. Oregon's always working on a big flip or two behind the scenes. So you keep winning games like this. You're impressing on the field. You impress with your program, your coaches, the culture you've created. And then certainly you have the resources to be competitive in the NIL space. Oregon's clicking on all cylinders right now. And those fans inside the big house felt that today.
Absolutely. What a game it was for Oregon. Also, though, Michigan. Hey, Michigan fans, you're recruiting really well despite the outcome. So talk to us, whether you're Oregon, whether you're a Michigan fan, what's the next step for recruiting and how you guys feeling about this weekend? Let us know. Comment section below.